Alright, welcome back to another episode of Art Time, where today we are going to be working on the next episode of Nova Guardians. We're going into this so fucking late into the goddamn day, or month I should say. So, I'm hoping I can get this done with and Reginald's Macabre cases done with within a relatively decent amount of time, tonight at least. But if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like and subscribe for more. Okay, so this episode right here is going to be a pretty, I guess, secretively important episode. Not going to go too much into spoilers, but I can at least talk about the theme of this episode. If you look into this pod right here, you notice that this person looks similar to this person here. Well, that's because this is a shapeshifter. And in the the Nova Guardian universe, shapeshifters are considered an alien species capable of shifting their shape into anything that of which they can shapeshift into. And there is going to be more in-depth description on the shapeshifters. I'm tired as hell, so I probably won't be able to actually tell you all about that in-depth right now, but when time comes for me to write the thing up and make all the words that I need to make, then you'll have a much more cohesive description on what the shapeshifters are and how many different types there are. Right now, there's only really two wild shapeshifters who, like this one right here, utilizes, I guess, prey, even though they don't technically need to consume these people to be able to take their identity, where they go on ahead, keep the prey inside of a pod, and they use that to be able to get their appearance to match it almost one for one. And it's pretty convincing. They are considered S-class criminals. At least the wild animals are the ones that are considered S-class creatures. The ones that are, at the very least, more intelligent and have become more ingrained in human society are the ones that are considered S-class criminal. And I will tell you about those in a minute. But the wild creatures are the ones that are S-class, who have at least developed the intelligence of the creature that they are utilizing. And if that person were to ever be broken out of their pod, then the creature would slowly start to revert back into a more animalistic instinct. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why can't we just kill the creature? Why can't we just kill the creature, be done with it? Well, it's not as simple as that. Because if you kill a wild shapeshifter creature, because they're the ones that have that ability, then you're going to end up killing the person inside the pod, and the shapeshifter will then be reborn via, I guess, it would potentially be like an egg kind of system, that once the eggs have detected, and this can be from like light years away, it might take a while, but it would eventually, the creature would I would say there would have to be at least some limitation to where the creature can't leave off planet. But in theory, they could potentially do that and somehow manage to reborn via the eggs detecting their creator's death or whatnot. Like saying in theory, when actually the shape-shifting creatures don't really go out of their way to leave the planet that their nest is on. But if the eggs detect that the creature is dead, then they will enter into the prey, dissolve them, basically turning them into this goopy substance, and then the pod opens up wide, allowing for the new shapeshifter to come out. It won't take the form of the person, or at the very least, it'll not stay in that form, I guess is the best way to describe it. It'll stay in that form for like a little bit before it reverts into its animalistic formation, appearance, that's the word I'm looking for. And then it'll go on ahead, try to find a new prey to take a hold of, and then restart the cycle again, trying to regrain itself into human society. For the most part, their instincts reside on them consuming and killing other creatures. They consume other creatures, they become more powerful. And if they become more powerful, they become more of a pain in the ass for Nova Guardians to deal with. And that's pretty much the creature's description. Now, there are those shapeshifters who have managed to become born from a person, which I would say is probably the result of a shapeshifter creature getting into marital or sexual relationships with another person. Usually it means it's male shapeshifters, but the shapeshifters could easily just go on ahead and manipulate their body to be able to essentially, get the reproduction means. And it's not even a malicious or intentional thing that they're trying to do. It's just natural animalistic instincts of trying to breed. They don't realize that they're creating a completely new subspecies of themselves. They're just doing this because they need to do this because that's what nature dictates, apparently. But those shapeshifters are more intelligent. And usually they work off of their own violent instincts from, being half shapeshifter. And that's basically the two shapeshifter types that we have right here. Now, before you see Lloyd's group. You remember Lloyd? I don't know if I did an episode of him. Oh, wait, there it is. But Lloyd, right here, this guy. The one who was about to be given a different group, but was given these four instead, because the group that he was being given to decided that they weren't up to the task to be a Nova Guardian, like these four are. They are more suited for, also this probably should be more, there you go. They were more suited for something while still trying to help out, say telephone, communication, that kind of stuff. Relaying missions and whatnot. That's essentially what they went and did instead. So now we got Jacob right here, Sherry, Blink, and Armin. And it was funny because when I imagined Blink, I imagined him like, what was that insect guy from Naruto again? I had it in my... Oh, hold on. I can't remember his name. The one who was always like, the reason being because that kind of... Let me just... Insect guy. What was his fucking name? Shino, that's right. I was worried I would have accidentally somehow managed to get that particular appearance, but I'm happy with the design here. The sunglasses, the mask, the trench coat, the large flat fedora. His speaking mannerisms is kind of what I want to have him inspired via Shino, but, the design, I wanted it to be its own thing, and I'm glad I did it. And these characters are, in all intents and purposes, in all intensive purchases. Don't know what the hell I was trying to say beforehand, but you know what I mean. In those words, they are technically the side characters. Just as how Ahiga's group and Susan's group are side characters as well. Even though some of them have pretty sick designs. They got like Kiahana's group, who is more of a important side character group, because they've had more speaking roles than most of the other characters. Right, Mamu? You're just laying in the bed now. We've even had an episode dedicated to them being rivals with Vanessa's group, these four. And for the most part, anyways, they are Kiahana's, who is essentially, I guess, one of the major side characters. Because he's not really. He is one of the first people introduced into the series. And yet, these are the 4 that are the main characters. Even though, yes, you don't really need to have, like, the main group being fully shown. Unlike in Elementals Reborn, the main characters isn't exactly one singular character. I guess Vanessa kind of is one of the more important main characters, because she was the first one we've noticed, and then these 4 got added in and took the role of soldiers being, well, soldiers. I guess technically they're guardians. By the legitimate name, they are considered as guardians, Nova Guardians. But, yeah, they're, like, being led by Vanessa, but they are the ones that we're mostly following for the most part. And we have, like, some backstories with them, too, and a little bit with Vanessa. Vanessa! Easiest way for me to remember Vanessa's name, because I keep getting her name mixed up with Veronica for some stupid reason. So the easiest way for me to remember is just think of Doofenshmirtz. Even though I don't have a Doofenshmirtz character in this series, it's the easiest way for me to remember what her name was. Which is annoying. I don't know why that's mixed up for some stupid reason, but it is. Anyways, yeah. Because in Elementals Reborn, the main character, at the very least, you're first introduced to is Gwyneth. She is one of the more important main characters. Not to say that most of the characters don't have, like, speaking roles and are not shown. Because you got, like, Domadora having some important roles, Ganther having a decent amount of important roles, and Ariella, of course, being the second character introduced into the team, having some important roles. And even with that being said, Melina was a character who was introduced first alongside Gwyneth, but her role isn't fully in place yet. Let me go to Sky. Right now, she's just delegated to a side character in the background of at least a couple more episodes that I have in mind, maybe like a few towards the end. She was introduced and shown pretty much fully going through the course of the first 5 episodes. And then once the group manages to go on their first mission, she branches off and they do their thing while she does her own thing. And that was pretty much that for her role. And yeah, she's going to have a minor role in the sense of this next episode. Not going to be fully shown. It's going to be like a note on a door. And it's going to lead to the setting for a very interesting fan service scene that I have in mind. Involving the group minus Genthru. I can tell you this much for a fact. Genthru is going to have an important role in the next, I guess, mini-arc. It's a 2-episode mini-arc. I don't want to say too much about it, but just expect that the 2-month hiatus. I mean, most series out there have like a much longer hiatus. 2 months is pretty goddamn generous considering the fact that I release an episode a month. But who knows how most people think in that department. Because I don't know how long it takes for mangas to like come out with their like series. And while my series is more so just a cover art with the entire episode, 22-minute length, maybe a little over, because I seem to have a hard time trying to keep it within 22 minutes in my mind. Maybe it's about close to there, but it's just so difficult. It's so difficult to keep... No, that's the mist. At least with Nova Guardians, despite the fact that I have to take an entire Sunday to write up an entire episode of 4 chapters worth, and not all the chapters share the same length, which is fine. Despite that, like, I don't know, it's just so much here that we have to do. Wait a minute. Wait. I know how I can fix this problem. There we go. Something I should do for most of those when I have to like shade over. But for this, it doesn't make it in anywhere possible to actually do, which is fine. There we go. Alright, the goop is ready. That must be terrible to be turned into acidic goop because you were captured by a freaking shapeshifter. Well, anyways. And you see that the pods here aren't like that. It's because the protective layering, keeping pretty much everything within the pod, is gone once the pod is hatched. That's why the pods look so dull once they're used, because there's no protective layering of acidic, I mean, they got like weapons to be able to free somebody from their, well, John utilizes a gun while these three utilizes melee weapons. So they're the three that'll only be able to get this person out of here. Which her name is Leanne. Leanne. Also, I realize I've been apparently saying Leanne's, or whatever, however the hell I pronounced. You know the brunette girl that I did drawing a while ago? The one with the blue glasses? Well, I don't think I've done a normal drawing of her on this channel. I could probably pull one up. What was that? Yeah, 38. Right here, this girl. If you're on DeviantArt, you know who I'm talking about. Apparently, her name is supposed to be pronounced Leanna. Instead of, like... Was I calling her Leanna? I forgot. Now I've completely forgotten what I was calling her name before. Lena. That's why I was calling her name. Lena. Jayla Lena. That's why those two names sounded very close, but not exactly. So Leanna, which I think is way cuter than just Leanne. Or Lena, that's the word. God, now that I heard about the damn name and how it's pronounced, I can't stop pronouncing it like that than the old way. I mean, that's good. That's great, because that means now I'll always pronounce it as Leanna. Because there's no way I'm going to potentially forget. But yes, we figured out how to pronounce her name. And that's why her name is Leanne. Which I guess Leanne makes more sense because of the whole... When I was looking at the pronunciation, it was like Leanne. Like Liam Nielsen, but with an N. So, I feel like Leanne's a much nicer name for a character like this. For a character who was abducted by a shifter and is now in potentially harm's way. But don't you worry, because Vanessa's group got the case covered. It's pretty simple. And it's going to be interesting to just see the characters interacting with each other and like... Because this is Lloyd's observation deck. His own little area that him and Leanne basically lives in. There's a ton of wildlife in the area, alongside some pretty high-level places that are just very dangerous. Case in point, this shifter's nest here. Taking place within a green-hued cave, which is probably becoming green-hued because of all the goddamn eggs in the place. I imagine the eggs are just like little bits and pieces of food items that because yeah, obviously if the person is being trapped inside the pod, their needs need to be met. So the shifter has to also take into consideration the needs of its revival host, or its, I guess, technically, what would you call it? It's the host that the body is trying to take care of so that it can continue staying in its current form. To trick the people into thinking that they are a part of, they are the same person since they've ever met. But of course, it's not perfect. And if the creature ever gets to a point, which is going to be a major aspect to this episode, if the creature ever gets to a point where the host is nearing a fatal point for some reason or another, then the host, or at least the shifter, appears to become sick. So it looks like the person is down with a very bad sickness. And what's worse is a sickness that is already existent. So it can easily trick people into thinking that, the person in the sickness instance is under that effect and not the shifter's effect. And that's going to be an important role that plays here, because it's a shifter that's almost on the end of its current host's life. So now it's taking a sick effect, and it's going to try to take the next person to then go on ahead and utilize them in order to go on and revive themselves pretty easily. It's a very hostile creature. You wonder why they're S rank? That's why. They can easily take the form of a sick person. The person that dies, so long as there's no other witnesses, is at the very least easily able to be pushed off as, this person died, but the person who was mourning them is not actually that person, because the person who was mourning got killed by the not killed, but was abducted by the shapeshifter, put into one of these pods, and is now able to pass off as the person who had the sickness dying from the natural causes. And then, of course, the cycle starts all over again. It's a very vicious cycle. Very vicious indeed. Shifters seem to take the approach of a dying person, like a dying animal, in hopes of trying to lure people into a false sense of comfort, false sense of mourning, in order to potentially take them instead and replace their current host with a new one. If that happens and the host dies, then the shifter would just go on ahead, consumes the dead host, and then puts the new host in a pod. Not pleasant. That is for certain. Not a pleasant creature. And it sucks because, well, your loved one died, but it turns out they actually were, quote-unquote, killed by a shifter. Because I'd imagine that in a state like this, the person inside of the pod would soon end up dying. It's like it's slowly dissolving. All the weird, acidic, goopy nonsense that kind of occurs throughout the course of being subjected inside of this vat, this pod, vat of what and whatnots and how hoods or whatever. Very deadly. And that's why people are very hostile towards shifters. It makes sense. Because the shifters are trying to take over all of your friends' lives. Okay, I think I definitely did the mist here. Well, if I did the mist, I might as well go through the mist again. Pod. It also sucks because the shifter completely 100% matches the person's personality. But I guess the one way you can tell somebody's a shifter is if the person is not someone who's really outgoing. And if you notice them going out a lot lately, you might think of that as a good thing, right? But if they all of a sudden just go out and you're suspicious of it, well, you're right. Your suspicions are correct. It's because that person is a shifter. And they're trying to collect prey to be able to feed to their current host so that they can continue their current life. I would say the shifters that are born from a person have a much easier time. The thing is, if they are like hungry. They have to consume to be able to regenerate like a normal person would. But another good thing about a shifter is, or at least in this instance of being able to, keep their current form relatively alive, is the fact that they're able to take certain body parts of a being, most likely a human if they were a human shifter, then they can go on ahead and regenerate missing body parts. So if they're like, get an arm cut off, they just go on ahead, find somebody to consume the arm, and then boom, that person's arm shrivels up while the shifter's arm regenerates. This is only a thing for the human-born shifters. There's like half human, half shifters. Regular shifters could just basically constantly regenerate at the cost of their host's body. These are things that I'm trying to remember and keep track of, but this is going to be hard to do. To have Lloyd and Tina kind of explain them off. Because Tina, if you've seen episode 8, you know that, well, actually, even the beginning episode, you know that Tina's pretty freaking smart. Despite her brutish and delinquent personality, Tina's a smart child. And there's a good reason why she's a smart child, and I think you might find that out in episode 12, which is not coming out until December. And I'm looking forward to episode 12. Definitely. I am most indubitably looking forward to releasing episode 12. That's probably going to be my most favorite episode just for the fact that we get to finally see Tina for who she is. That all of this that she's been doing is basically just show that she's been putting on. And she's actually, deep down, a really sensitive and nice girl. It's just that certain circumstances occurred. A lot of not good things. And, it's like a certain character that if you've been watching the Tales of Berseria series, no spoilers if you haven't and you want to play that game or watch me play it. A certain character in that series who is pretty boorish, but is actually quite sweet on the inside. You see it multiple times coming out, which is nice. Right, Moo? 9 degrees clockwise in fetal position asleep, Moo. Cat. Yeah, she's sleeping now. Sleepy cat. We're almost done with the texture, which is I guess technically the background didn't really take that long. Oh, I woke the cat up. I just moved slightly, and she's like, still in the same position, didn't even move, just opened eyes and looked at me, right, Mama? I'm trying to sleep, but I make sudden movements, and you're like, wake now. Why am I awake? You're just narrowing your eyes at me. There's also a very important scene, which I guess technically isn't spoilers, because it is shown, where Yasashi gets to catch a glimpse of Futagaro, I think. Name's hard for me to remember. Which is her sister. The one who died in the first episode. I don't know what that is. I just figured I'd put that in. Because also it's just a good way for us to be able to see her here. I say that despite the fact that I technically do know, but I don't want to say anything. I cannot say anything. You will have to find out when the time comes. Which is why I can't wait for episode 13 as well. I guess it is technically a pretty big spoiler if anyone even pays attention to those words I've said. And no, it's not something to do with her. Something to do with someone else. Who that may be, I know, but you won't. Not until the episode comes out, at least. Alright. Anybody who's smart will be able to catch on to what I'm putting down. If you've read the episode, anybody who knows will know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. Live within the dark while I continue to create. As the series will continue on forward, obviously. My hope here is to try to wrap up as much as I can. And there isn't really a whole lot to wrap up. We've kind of been keeping everything kind of consistent, in a sense. We got some more stuff being opened up. Like the whole, what's been going on with a bunch of the characters knowing Tina. You'll see soon enough once the next episode comes out. But for the meantime, just enjoy the episodes that we've got. Alright. I do gotta say though, I can't wait to to get to the end of this series, because that's a very cool thing that I'm looking forward to. There will be hints and stuff that I'm going to try to drop for a certain moment. The next episode will probably leave behind a pretty subtle hint, so I'm not going to say too much on the matter. That's your job to try to figure it out, if you are any bit interested in the series. And I feel like most people would, because this series, alongside just being action-packed and having like some interesting concepts and whatnot, is kind of a criticism towards today's modern work-focused society. Because everything in this life is focused on working your life away for some reason. Instead of pursuing your passion, like what I've been doing. I've been sacrificing sleep to get this stuff done with. And I'm fine with that. If I freaking collapse, well, blame the goddamn constant jobs trying to put 12s and weekends up, which so far we haven't had to worry about the weekends as much, but we still have stupid 12s on occasions that we've had to worry about. Which I think mandatory overtime should just be made illegal, and if a company cannot keep up with productivity without it, then they don't deserve to run, period. That's what I think. Life shouldn't be all about working it away. Life should be about pursuing what you want to pursue. And that's what I'm doing. Even if it costs me my life. Because maybe if I die, my soul will be brought to Luna's universe so I can live a happy life creating for eternity. Or I become a creator god. Either one. As long as I can leave this shitty reality and become a creator god, that's fine. I won't rush into it, but I will look forward to what might potentially allow me to do that or not. Who knows? Our current life is short, but we don't know what other kind of life we might get into the next life. If there is a next life, nobody knows. Nobody knows at all. Scientifically, it thinks that we black out and boom. But spiritually speaking, who the hell knows? Nobody knows, and there's no sense in trying to come up with it. Just to hope for certain things to come true. I'll put the window over here, which makes sense. But people are so adamant on being, I have to go into the real world, The real world shouldn't be like this. If this is what the real world should be like, nuke it all. Then let the planet burn. Now I understand why so many of the people in charge are trying their best to destroy this planet. It is because they went through that once before in their lives, and now they're like, well, fuck it. Well, then again, that doesn't make any sense, because if they're in a position of power where they could actually do that, they probably are rich as hell and don't have to worry about the plight of the common man and woman. And in between. Can't forget about the in-betweens. Even though some people really wish they could forget about the in-betweens, you can't. Apparently there's this one guy who... I haven't been keeping up with the whole nonsense of the freaking people trying to fill in a seat for some shish, because I couldn't care less about it. But apparently we got somebody who's in charge that has apparent racial, bigoted, and homophobic views that are so freaking extreme that I feel like if he were to have any charge, all the progress we've made to become, or at least some progress of some people being acceptant over what other people are like, all that progress is just going to be gone. Because they're going to try to make it law to be where you're like, nope, no gay people. Nope, nuh-uh. No blacks either. They're going to do that. Because there are so many people out there who's trying to seek power to keep their old views the same as it ever was. It's outstanding just how openly racist, homophobic, and transphobic some of these people are. I don't understand how they could just think themselves to be the good person. There is no God in the world unless you're talking about a God who wishes nothing but pain on his own creations, who would see those people and think, no, this ain't it, Chief. This isn't my way. You are failing my lessons. And if you're talking about like Jesus or God or whoever the hell, you're failing, my lessons of loving thy neighbor, no matter what. And if that's the case, then, well, let's just say that I'm pretty sure God ain't happy. God is very upset with what most of these people are taking as their own view, which makes sense. If you're building up God to be an all-loving being who wishes for everyone to get along, well, at least that's what some of them are trying to go and make reality. Isn't God technically a tyrant in the Bible, like the actual Bible? Like, I don't know, it's like they're trying to find reasons amongst somebody who has way too many powers. Way too much power, at least in their eyes. And really, it could just be some random man who was like, yeah, I'm going to just make up a being and do all this stuff or some shish. No clue. I don't know. You would have to be there during that time to really understand what God was supposed to essentially be built up to. But regardless, a lot of those people who think that, God is supposed to be all-loving, and they don't follow that same mantra, while they are being, like I've said, racist, homophobic, and transphobic, then I'm pretty sure their God would condemn them to all hell and suffering. So, I don't know, that's just my opinion on how I imagine a God would react to what we have done, to what most of y'alls have done. Hard to really say, really. You're expecting me to believe somebody like that exists within the ethereal beings of pantheons of gods when we don't really fully know. We haven't truly seen it. Believing it might exist, I mean, to me, I like to imagine that whatever we create becomes real in another universe. It's like we're creating an alternate, not alternate universe. Although I guess we might create alternate universes by thinking of the what ifs. What if I did this? And then it somehow managed to work out perfectly for them. If you're ever wondering, man, how the hell did this go so well? This, in all actuality, should have failed miserably. And yet somehow, it worked. If you ever get that feeling, keep this in mind. Another universe's version of you had that certain instance go down and failed miserably, and you're the thought that they had trying to think about how that could have went good and have actually worked. You are that person. Hell, for all I know, there's probably a freaking... What's the thing? I was going to use somebody as a... Well, failing upwards, I guess. Well, actually, that could have worked. Like, for example, Elon Musk with what he's done with everything so far. Like, he has somehow managed to succeed upwards. I imagine there was an alternate universe version of him who has failed every turn of the way until he got to a point where he succeeded and he was like, man, how could this have gone wrong? This worked so perfectly in my favor for once, but how could this have gone wrong? And that resulted in what he's doing now. what he has done, what he has achieved in breaking an entire freaking platform that was once used as a really good emergency service, but now, yeah, I don't know. Also, I'm wondering if I should make the mist. No, not mist. This would be in the pod. The pod. Where is this again? Gas. It would be gas this. Or what if it's like... Well, what if it was an overlay? Nope. What if it was a nice solid 90? There. So you can at least see the mouth a little bit. Or maybe like a 95, so it's not that visible, but at least somewhat still visible. There we go. Yeah, I guess for the most part that's a possibility. But there are multiple... There's probably multiple examples of people who should in all actuality have failed miserably. But they somehow managed to succeed. And that's because another universe's alternate timeline of them has failed miserably the way that everybody thought they would have. But they were trying to think of ways where it could have succeeded. And now this universe's version of them has adopted that way. That's a possibility. Think if one instance in your life goes good, could potentially mean that another timeline version of you that went through that same instance had that go bad for them. Oh, wait a minute. Well, hold on. I have so many goddamn shadows here. Just think about it. If you're having a bad time and you're trying to create, you're trying to think about how this scenario could have gone better, you're making another universe's version of you happy by having everything succeed for them. At least one version of you is happy, but not the version that you want, which is you. That's how I imagine all that goes. Well, anyways, existential crises aside, I'm tired. I'm tired as hell. Well, we're almost done. Once the shadow and lighting and effects are done with, we'll move on over to... I'll probably get this posted in the draft. Then I'll go on ahead and work on Reginald's Mockery cases. And to which at that point I'll work on as much as I can. Now, there's a Fully Cooley Shoegaze marathon on, so I feel like I can have that on in the background while I have an hour and a half of me working on what I need to work on. I feel like I could do that. I kind of want to look through that series again and see if I can catch up on things I have missed. Because I've been trying to like piece together the timelines of the Fully Cooley universe. And I think I've come down to at least some reasonable conclusion, but I'm not entirely too sure. Because there are some instances in what we have seen so far in the recent ones, the 3-episode ones, where I'm like, okay, well that could work, but then I'm like, wait, but how does that work? And I'm like, Cat. Just giving me the side eye while you're waking up again. I don't think I'm awake enough to try to go through the timeline theory that I have in mind. But I would challenge somebody like I don't know why he would do this, but I would challenge somebody like Matt Pat to try to delve down the Fully Cooley lore hole. I don't know if it's more confusing than FNAF, but it's definitely up there in the sense that it's very hard to try to keep track of certain tidbits and things that occur throughout the series. Alright, let me back out of that so I can figure out what color I want here. I need a nice, like an orangish color, maybe around close to up here. And it has to be darker blue up here. And we have like a green color up here, a light green color. And we go on over to the Shapeshifter. Have a nice dark blue color. Or at least a nice dark blue color around here. I feel like your shadow should be a little bit more prominent, so I might make your shadows more prominent. We can have like a nice light blue shadow here. No, not light shadow. A light blue color should be lighter than that. Kind of showcasing the lights coming down, like so. And a nice bright orange on the side here. Delete some of it around the edges here. And then we go down to you guys, which at this point I can go on ahead and do what needs to be done. I think this is Fog 1D, right? Yeah. What does this look like? How about this one? A nice teal green. Is that a teal green? Yeah, teal green fog. I feel like I can do a mixture. Like that for this, but as soon as we go down to here and to the rest of the fog here, we have this be here. And as soon as we pass that, we can go even further beyond. And have a nice light, I guess a light green there, followed by a light blue here. Or a regular old blue. No, that doesn't work. And that's fairly noticeable. I need to go back to you. But I need to have your shadows only be consistent here. I think this is E. I don't know. Could be E, could be F. I can't see where my shadow layer at. Yeah, it's F. Alright, I'm gonna copy this real quick. Delete all the bits that we don't need. Make sure I don't accidentally delete things that I need. Because that would suck if I did. I think that's pretty much everybody up here. The bottom part doesn't really matter that much, but I'll still try to get rid of it anyway, just because. Yeah, you'll probably go through here and delete that stuff. And everything here is right where it needs to be, right? Oh, wait. There we go. Nope. There we go. I think. Everything seems to be in order. So I need you to be a nice solid 50. We get to see most of what Leanne looks like. Not in full, obviously, because of, the creature. Taking the yellow and green in their eyes. And probably get some here, but have the eyes kind of showing a bit more. Maybe make this a 50 opacity or a 30. Try to reveal the face a little bit, but not too much. And there's one thing I probably should do now that we're getting a little bit more closer towards a reasonable instance. I should probably go on ahead, Try to match this better. There we are. Now the fog's taken care of. I need some light rays. I need multiple light rays. So what I'm going to do is grab a couple. I need a nice light ray coming down from here. Shining over Fu and into the rest of the group here. Also having the lights kind of get blocked by some of the characters here. Go to X and get some light rays here. I can't see it. I don't even know where the hell I am, so I feel like it would just be easier if I went on ahead and deleted this. And this one needs to be a nice light yellow. The light's coming mostly from the eggs, I guess. So you're going to have like a lot of light shines coming around here. Because they're in a cave, there's not going to be a lot of lights here. So the best light that you have, the light source, is the strange green glowing eggs. Alright, let's see. Nice bit of lighting happening around here. Nice lighting happening around the eggs. That's not what I want. Light particles. This one's going to be interesting. Because what I'm going to need to do is delete some of the light particles in areas where they're not supposed to be. Well, you need to be at 100 back again. Mostly around the characters from here. And here. And around the face and body. Same thing applies to this side. Try to keep it relatively reasonable. And now for the light flares. Beautiful. All the colors still on check. And then this one. Can't see it. Too many colors blending in with the cursor. Okay. Keep it on the hat. I think the hat looks good at that, like that. Alright, good. Now for the shadow rays, I do want to get some more particles inside of this chamber. I might have some colors inside the chamber where I can get the particles, no problem. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So we have a nice shadow ray happening down here. And here. And then here. Beneath here and here. Even though there's not a lot of shadows there, I'll still put some. Delete some around the shoulder and the hand. Most of the arm, I guess. Oh, so that could stay. I'm gonna have the shadow rays go over you and the rest of the background here. Yeah, this is a scene that's gonna happen towards the end of the episode. Provided I freaking remember. Okay. Nope. Now we go over to U5. Shadow Ray C. The light from the eggs, casting shadow rays off of their body, like so. Not too much, but enough to at least showcase that. Now I need shadow rays 1D. Whoops. A series of eggs lighting up the area. I don't think we can get any more shadow rays here, so that should be fine. What I do want to get, however, is a nice particles. So now I gotta swap back over to my Nova Guardian swatch shifter nest. Alright, let me see. We got a gas type and another type. I can use these. Man, at this point I should just create another texture brush for this stuff while I'm using it so constantly. I technically do have one because of the fireflies, but I'm not using them the way that I should be using them. Could check and see if that actually is close, because that might make it easier for me to work on this. Yeah, nice overlay effect, having a bunch of particles here. I imagine it smells very chemically here. Chemically with a little bit of a toxic nature scent to it. I don't know the best way to describe it. It's like it's a specific level of nature scent that's just way too much and your body can't handle it. I'm going to use these two. The mist. I'll have some mist particles back here. But the ones that I mostly want is going to happen around the mid-ground. But before all of this, so it's got to go inwards around here. More particles. Put this out of 20. Okay, so it is above the train. Nice. Some particles around her. Don't have to worry about it accidentally going into her. And we get the rest of the particles here to fill in the rest of that. Now I'll just have a nice little mist overlay. Well, I do kind of want it to be over her a little bit. Now, I can have two. I can have one over here, taking most of that up. Same with this. And I can go over Foo. With another, that's not mist. With another mist overlay. And I kind of go over some of these, but that's fine. Okay, you can't really see much of what's going on here, so that's fine too. I'm not 100% loopy like I was that one time with Kamerat and Ninku. Man, I still so freaking tired. Right, now I can go back into the effects and administer the finishing touches. Man, I'm glad I got the Saturdays I needed to get off. Otherwise, I probably would have never been able to have gotten this done with this month. I'm still worried about Reginald's Mockerberry cases a little bit. Because I don't know how much complex that one's going to be. Maybe not that bad, who knows? I'll have like a couple of hours here, and maybe a little bit more if I decide to do that. If I decide, I kind of want to keep it like that so I can have a nice yellow area, or an eye glow for the most part. Wonder if I can have them yellow here? Maybe. Nah. If not there, I could probably have some yellow here. No. Well, actually, I could probably do this. I don't know why, but I'm getting the me and the boys memes from this. Is that how that is? Is that what that's called? I'll check it out real quick. Me and the boys meme. Yep. It's kind of in the opposite direction for the most part. Rhino's fully on the bottom left. I think that's his name. I don't know. He looks like a rhino. Weird Starman, Green Goblin. See, you would be here. You would probably be here. So it's kind of the opposite, to an extent. Oh, but you're still shorter. He's just ducking down so that we get to see Blink's ginormous retractable sword that goes 3 times his size. It's like Shikama's scythe. His retractable scythe. How long have we been at this? An hour. Not bad. Shikama's retractable scythe. The fact that he can basically keep a giant sword like maybe at like the size of this, where you open it up, flips out, and then and locks into place. I mean, this is a world where we have advanced technology, even though the rookies are given the shit technology. And that has been determined. If you see in the, what do you call it, episode? The one with, episode 10. That one. If you've seen that episode, read it, or whatever, you will notice that the Vanessa's group is given a new mapping technology, and it's still somewhat iffy, dodgy. Like, it's not up to the technological standards of the future as it should be. Because it's clear that they have access to space travel because they're on a planet, not Earth, and it has been stated that there's like over 80 colonized planets. So, for the most part, you think we would have the better technology. We'd have technology like Shikama's retractable scythe, or something like that. But, you don't. At least not yet. That's why Ishii has some plans in mind. That's why in the beginning of this episode, Ishii asked Shikama how the device was. And it was subpar. It worked, but it wasn't really instantaneous. It took a while to get all of the bits in. Yeah, that's too much. So it's clear that Ishii is trying to upgrade everyone's technological advancements to what would be considered the standards, the normal standards. Because having to work with terrible technology in a job like this, it's not a good thing. Not good at all. Alright, now for Sepia. This one's going to be interesting, but I need to get like multiple different types of things to put here. Like maybe a dark green. No clue. I imagine maybe like a nice brownish color, but no. That could work. And we can have like a nice yellowish color down here. Mainly for here. Too bright. Still too bright. It kind of works. Alright, I'm going to switch over to this and I'm going to start getting some of this stuff in. And get a nice... Too little. A nice... That is a strange but oddly satisfying contrast. Orange, blue, green, yellow. I could definitely have this shroud her a bit more. Maybe not with that color. Oh, that one's not good either. Purple? No. That one looks pretty good. Most of her hand's kind of hidden regardless, so I feel like most of that will work. That wouldn't work. Unless I can have a nice light green. No. Nope. Alright. Yeah, I think it's fine as is. I don't need to work on it anymore. I have another brighter blue. Or a brighter regular blue. This one's kind of bright. Alright, what does this look like? I think we finished. Okay, you can see her mouth a little bit. That's good. I mean, for those who look at the cover art first and don't read it yet, they're like, huh, I wonder what's in that strange-looking pod. But if you've read through the entire episode and then watched this, then you'll see that, yes, that is her. It's no secret. It's not a spoiler. Technically, it's a spoiler if you haven't started watching this or reading this episode yet. But it is essentially a spoiler. Man, when I first made this, I thought, something about this seems off. But then as soon as I went to the effects, it seems good. We see somebody here who is... the entire episode being called Shifty Activities is kind of a good nod to the fact that we're dealing with shapeshifters here. Alright, I think that's all there is to it. Seems like it at least. You get to see Lloyd's group in full, finally. That's pretty much well, except for one person, two people actually. There's two people we haven't fully seen yet, who have been three. But one of them is purposefully hidden for an obvious reason that you will find out at some point later in the future. But for now, with effects, without effects, with effects, without effects, so on and so forth. Although I do feel like I probably could try to reduce the lighting a little bit here. Because I do kind of like that's a text, not the effects. I feel as though I could probably put this at a solid 50 and just reduce the lighting a little bit. And move it to a 30. Now that one's fine, it's just I think this one needs to be reduced a little bit. There we go. It's still glowing, but it's not like extremely light, brighten up. Again, with effects, without effects, with effects, without effects, so on and so forth. Alright, not bad. Got this done within a reasonable time, too. So with that being said, thank you all for watching today's episode of Art Time. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe for more, check out that there playlist, and of course, today's episode of Art Time right over here, and most recent episode of this coming out on a Sunday, Tales of Berseria, right over here. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode. Later.